All
It's a
right.
little bit worn. I have to get a new one every year or two.
Every year, you know what? That's kind of how I feel with my Morgan State gear. I have to. It's like the shorts and the like this shirt that I always get, and the shorts is always they end up. I play hoop. I hoop in most of them, so it's like eventually I got to get rid of them all. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a yearly thing, but appreciate everybody for tuning in, man, to the Trap or Die podcast. And before we get things started, I got to get my little introduction out the way, right? Joining us tonight, most of you all know him, especially if you're in the Washington football community. But if you're listening, and you may not know the guy, Jon Keim is a master of all trades type of guy. He's a father. Happy Father's Day to the dads over here, by the way. He's a grill master, and most importantly, he knows how to successfully navigate Washington football Twitter without allowing fans to drive him crazy.
I don't know if anybody can successfully do that.
Look, man, you are the most calm individual when it comes to trying to rationalize and deal with some of the fans that aren't too rational. Do you recognize that? I was saying, do you know how good you are doing that, man? Because some people actually kind of go kind of crazy in terms of how they talk to other people on Twitter.
They do, and it can be a tricky road at times. Most people are really good on social media, as we all know. Most doesn't mean all. So I'm not against. As I told someone else before, I was a 165-pound safety in high school. I'm not afraid to give it back if I have. Are just good interactions. So and I don't know. I enjoy it. So I think there's a good way to do things. And I don't think if you're, and to be honest, if you're in the media, I don't want to. You want to be accountable and you want to interact and not feel like you're above anything.
You know what's crazy? Cause I had to say this part while you were on here, the above anything, and when I reached out to you 5 years ago, for everybody who's listening and everybody who's watching, I gotta say this part, because Jon, I don't know if you thought that it was even when I reached out, because I wasn't looking for that opportunity to just speak football with you. I think what you maybe not understand, or maybe not be aware of, is that when I reached out to you 5 years ago, I didn't even expect a response. I was just hoping, I got that opportunity from somebody. And I want everybody to know, when you're talking about somebody who interacts with the fan base, but also pays attention to some people, when you're talking about supporting, and this is me speaking in general, right? But when you're talking about supporting people, or you're talking about being there each and every step of the way in terms of whatever aspect, or offering that advice, the example is Jon Keim, specifically in my journalism aspect. But when you're talking about in life in general, that's the type of person that I would tell you all to follow his footsteps on, in terms of just general supportive nature. That's a respectable trait that you got, Jon. And I had to get you on to let you know, before we even got into everything, that there's a lot of people who don't understand that aspect of life, and you were able to do that with a person that you didn't even know 5 years ago, and even till today, you're still checking in. We still talk to each other, and that social media aspect, when you're not above somebody and you're giving that person a chance, a lot of people don't understand how much that could take. But also at the same time, if you just simply give that effort, it can do well and do wonders for a lot of people that they don't even know. So I just wanted to let you know, if you weren't aware of that aspect of yourself, you are a person that is clearly, like you said, not above anybody else, but also humble in that nature, and also a person who likes to help people. I just want you to know that that's the type of person that I see you as.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'm a big fan of when people reach out, because I figure they're really looking for help, and I like to help. And when somebody reaches out, I feel they're taking a step to trying to get themselves better and improve themselves or whatever. And at my core, I used to coach basketball. I love coaching. So I like working with kids and young adults, and then seeing that So I like that. And I do think it's important as you get older to give back whenever and however much you can. But I appreciate you saying that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So did y'all, hey, AJ and Dre, did y'all know that the Keim used to, he coached basketball, man. He coached he coached some talented youth members, man. Did y'all know that?
I think I've seen.
I'm not surprised. I mean, Jon seems like a smart dude.
Like some years ago.
It was.
Yeah. Now I can't.
I miss it.
I was about to ask you that because I was about to say, I don't know, do you miss the kids or do you miss both the kids and the parents telling you how to coach them kids?
Well, I'll say if your teams win, they don't say as much. So that was one thing. But yeah, I used to, I coached before I had kids, and this is just like mostly youth ball, some AAU, over in Alexandria, then Centerville, Chantilly. But I do miss, I love working with kids, but also the games. I mean, it's a fun competitive outlet. So, yeah.
Yeah. What was the and I probably this the last one. what was the best the furthest your team went? Your youth teams. How far did y'all go to in the basketball leagues?
Well, we won a couple. We won a few titles along the way, and I mean we had one team was 14-0, and that team that was a great team to coach because I also liked that team because there were a couple games that I convinced them that we weren't more talented than anybody else. So you had to play your asses off every minute, and they bought into it. And so I always liked that team because I was young and that was but so in the last one I did coach. I mean, but I like anything. Like my son and I one of his teams, we won our title in Centerville, and but my favorite, to be honest, one of my favorites, like my youngest son, I coach the same group, first, second, third grade. And you guys know, you get to a certain level, you start drafting and all that. So I had the same kids for 3 years, and you could actually incorporate more things each year. You could do, dribbling tennis balls in and out of cones. And, you just start the things with that because I know where they ended the previous year. 2-ball dribbles in and out of cones, all that kind of stuff. A lot of fun, man. Now every time I start talking about this, I miss it more.
See, that's what I'm here for, man. When the world opens back up for you, you're gonna be right there in your time off, coaching them kids, trying to get another championship. I know it. I know it. All right. So
crazy. I've always wanted to coach, but I was scared that I might yell at the kids too much.
I will say this
like adult
about that.
But it's funny. I coached with a guy in Alexandria. His name Rob Richardson. Loved the guy, and he always thought initially I coached with him. He thought I was too nice at first, but then he saw the whatever method I was using. But compared to him, anybody would have been too nice to the kids because he was hard on them, and I loved coaching with them But I love coaching with them because I'm not above correcting certainly. And I'm not going to be a pushover, but we had different styles, but it meshed really well. But he was hard on them, and they responded. And and if they didn't, he was going to be hard on them some more. He was never going to back down from that. And parents would give him some grief, but the guy could coach, and I enjoyed coaching with him. Yeah, it was a trip, man.
Hey, Dre, you thinking about you want to do some coaching over there too? You ever thought about that?
I want to, but I don't know if I can commit to the schedule. I mean, I love the kids.
I respect that.
I'm not sure, man. I can do it. I mean, I think I got the persona, but I don't know if I can do the commitment.
That's the hard part, and that's part of the reason why. And I tell my wife every once in a while, you watch a game and you start talking God, I got to go coach again. But Dre, just like that, every time I think about that, I'm like, but then I'm giving up all these weekends. And maybe I'll just what I need is to help somebody coach. It's I'll show up and I'll help you at practice. I'm happy to do that.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Consulting.
Yeah, exactly. All
right. We got just about 20 minutes with Keim, man. So let's go ahead and talk about this for a second, right? Let's talk about this for a second. The first thing at the top of everybody's head right now is the quarterback position, Jon. As we know, the quarterback position is the most important position on the field. And for Ron and company, it's kind of crazy. I actually asked Anthony Armstrong this yesterday, but it's still applicable because like Ron is entering his second year in Washington, and he's already on his fifth quarterback with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Obviously, context matters. We know that. We know the story of 2020, but he's on his fifth quarterback already, and he's in his second year. My question to you, man, is the percent chance for Fitz and Taylor. What percent chance do you believe in Fitzpatrick, and what percent chance do you believe in Taylor Heinicke?
I would probably give like Fitzpatrick in that 75% range, only because he's clearly coming in as a starter. Now, as Rivera said, there's going to be a competition. I still want to see how that unfolds as far as how do they, it's one thing to call it a competition. Let's see how it unfolds. How are they rotating guys? How often? Is it an even thing, or is it more like it's Fitzpatrick's job to lose? I think if Fitzpatrick plays well, and at least shows the way they hope, that he's going to start. Now that's to start the season, Jamal. That's to start the season. Whether or not he keeps the job for how long, he's got to play well. I mean, you saw with Dwayne Haskins last year, 4 games, and some of that is reading the locker room too. So I would say probably in that range. And part of the other reason I'm saying that too is when I had Ron on my podcast last week, and in that time, and he's done this throughout the spring, where you ask him about Ryan Fitzpatrick's strengths, and it goes back to a lot of the veteran knowledge, right, and the savviness and the ability, as he said, to help make others better. He emphasizes that point with just like he did with Alex Smith, but Fitzpatrick's at a better level as a passer. So I think, little things like he brought up a point about De'Ami Brown running a route in practice, and he ran it right, but Fitzpatrick went up to him and said, what you did was right, but we need it better. And he explained to him on this particular route how to drift away from this guy, and he's going to lead you into this opening with this throw because it's going to take him into more yards, et cetera. And the next time he ran the route, he ran it the right way. So those are the things that he'll bring up that Rivera brings up when he talks about Fitzpatrick and the veteran aspect. Now, you got to go out and play well, but I'm assuming he's going to play well enough. In the spring, he had some hiccups. You're learning guys, you're learning a new offense. Was it just that? If he has a lot of hiccups in the summer, then that percentage goes down. With Heinicke, the big thing to me that I want to know is, okay, what's changed for this kid in the 2 years since you cut him in Carolina? Because in August of 2019, they cut him. And, part of that, we heard a lot about the added weight this offseason, right? The 15 pounds, but it's really only a few pounds heavier than when he was in Carolina or when he came out of college. So it helps him now, but that was because he was sitting in a classroom. He gained 15 pounds from them, but not necessarily from when he came in the NFL. But what he did bring up with him was that he felt like he was playing less cautious and kind of maybe with a little bit more resolve than he had when he was in Carolina, just kind of one of those, F it, let's just go. And guys do respond to that. And guys did respond. And we saw Chase Young, you saw Terry McLaurin going up to him after that game as they go in the tunnel, basically getting in his ear, telling him how much he appreciated him. Guys responded to him. So while I say 75%, part of that assumption is that I think Fitzpatrick will play well enough that, I think if you're Heinicke, I think you may want to throw a knockout punch, but he's got Rivera's eye, and that's a key. And I think they know how guys respond to him. But the veteran aspect of Fitzpatrick would lead me to believe that that's why I give him a much higher percentage chance, especially to start the season. And then where it goes, who knows?
So, John, I definitely think that veteran element is a big thing, but the downside on Fitzpatrick is he's a gunslinger who gives the ball away a lot. And, just talking to players that were in the mini camps, there were a lot of turnovers on his behalf. I know you were there, but just talking to players privately in conversation, I'm like, yeah, we got a lot of chances at the ball. So that's kind of alarming because you bring up Dwayne Haskins, that was one of the main issues that regime had with him, was the fact that his turnovers and getting the ball back over like a good field position, things of that nature. And it's like, no matter how good your defense is, if you're throwing the ball all over the place, it doesn't really matter.
Well,
you might have to be the 85 Bears or 2001 Ravens to make it make sense.
And that's why I agree with you and all that, because there, and as you know, AJ, like sometimes in practice, there are things like he definitely, that's why I said there were hiccups then, and that the hiccups were the turnovers. And sometimes like there were a couple of times, well, from our perspective, what you don't know is always, what is he working on that play? What are they working on? Is that a play that's a bread and butter play and he can't execute it? Did he just misread it? Did he force it? The troubling ones to me were there was one day where there were a few red zone picks. And the problem that I had with those is, one, that I saw him throw those, whether it's Miami or Tampa or wherever, that was a problem area. And also because they were really, really forced. It wasn't like, you know how like sometimes you're working on something, well, maybe the receiver didn't finish the route, or maybe you anticipated this and it didn't happen. These were forced picks, and there were two of them in like 3 or 4 plays where the guy, like, you're throwing it through 3 guys to get to this guy. Those are the ones that I had a problem with, because that's what I saw on film or on tape in his games in previous years too. So that's why I say, I think the veteran aspect gets him to the season. From there, he's got to do better than that, because I agree, like that was noticeable. Like Heinicke threw a few picks to one guy's working against a really good defense, and the other guy was working against backup. So that's why I say, like, we don't know how will Heinicke do if you're going against starters, right? We don't know against this defense. So that's why I wonder if it's a true back and forth competition, it'll be a lot more interesting. Because you're right, though. I do agree that I think he's got to improve there. And was that a function of new offense? I don't know. And I think that's why this summer that's what'll be interesting to watch.
And the scary part is they actually hold on, let me just say something real quick. The scary part is they're hoping that he's going to improve, but the film doesn't lie. That's who he is. So
it has been
like, this guy is almost 40 years old. That's just who he is. And it's like, if you've made the decision to bring him in, I guess you got to kind of damn near live with it or make another play at quarterback.
Well, and like the defense isn't going to be fond of turnovers. One reason why they were 6-3 with Alex Smith a few years ago at that one before his injury, because they were putting the defense in good positions. And this is a really good defense, and they're going to be facing a lot of good quarterbacks this year. So you don't want to give those guys better field position. He has cut down on those in the last couple of years, but that's why I say the red zone area is where it was more noticeable to me.
Okay.
What you got, Dre?
Yeah, and John, to keep the topic on the quarterbacks, I wanted to ask, because obviously we've been doing a lot of talking about Taylor and Ryan. So is Taylor firmly above Kyle Allen right now in the coaching staff size?
It certainly seems that way, because when Rivera will talk about the competition, it's Ryan Fitzpatrick and Taylor, and Kyle Allen was still this spring, even though he was out there, was still only about 90% recovered from that ankle injury that he suffered. Was it last October? I think it was, or early November. But last season, and so that took away some parts of his ability to maybe extend plays the way the others could, and especially the way Taylor could. So that was, but what we know about Kyle Allen is, one, the coaches like him enough to keep bringing him back. They stuck with him a couple years ago in Carolina, rather than, bringing Cam Newton back onto the field when he was dealing with his injuries, and maybe Cam was too banged up. But I think because they liked the way Kyle Allen was playing, they put Cam on IR. And then last year, the first guy they turned to after Dwayne Haskins was benched was Kyle Allen. So I think the hard part in the summertime is to have a legit 3-man competition. We've seen that before. You don't get enough reps with starters to really have that. So, I think that's why they're going this way. But I'm not going to count Kyle Allen out, because they've shown in the past at some point, whether it's summer or November, at some point, if there's an issue, they're not afraid to turn to him.
So first off, Calvin, man, you did not go unnoticed, man. I appreciate you for subscribing. You're actually my first subscriber, so I appreciate you. This is the start of something big, so appreciate you, man, and appreciate you for coming back. If y'all have any questions in the chat that you want to ask Jon, let me know. You can obviously shoot them in there, and we can see what Jon is talking about. What do you think about? But Jon, let me ask you, if there was a bet you had to make, we just kind of broke down the quarterback situation, right? We understand the offense that was retooled with the receiver position, and you kind of reworked the offensive line as well. Morgan Moses is kind of gone, but then you also retooled the defense and you added and built up the secondary to whatever degree you did, and then obviously you drafted Jamin Davis. You had to make a bet, Jon. You had to make one. Or you could parlay it and do both. Which bet would you have to make for 2021? The first option is the offense will be a top 16 offense, or that the defense will be a top 5 defense this year. Which bet do you have to make?
Well, boy, I was thinking about that all day, and I'm going to give you the reasons why. The hard part for the defense to be top 5. I'll say this: if they're top 5 defense this year, this team will be really good, because when you look at the schedule of the quarterbacks they're facing, so statistically, they may not be a top 5 defense, but in reality, they, so if we're going to go based on stats, I'll say I think that's going to be harder for them to achieve that than the offense to be top half. Just because, like, looking at, was it Aaron Rodgers, Herbert, Mahomes, Derek Carr, Brady. Dak is coming back. I mean, so that's a really tough schedule, and they didn't face those kind of guys last year. So it's different. And that's not to say that, that's why I say their stats may not be top 5. We may look at them as like they're a better defense than last year, but I think finishing top 5 against that kind of quarterback play will be difficult. And then going back to what AJ was talking about a few minutes ago about the turnovers. If there's a lot of picks, that means it's going to be a lot more offense. There'll be more offense going the other way. And so I think that all adds up to, I think the top 5 will be harder for the defense to achieve.
I say, fellas, I ain't gonna, y'all not gonna like this response, but you gotta throw in Daniel Jones. We have not beat that man at all.
Well,
I don't think
he's
so.
looked like Tom Brady against his defense.
Yes, we gotta throw Daniel Jones in there. No matter how much we think he's not good, he is good against us.
And also he's got Galladay, and Kadarius Toney, if he can stay on the field, will be a help for him. And then Barkley comes back at some point. I don't know when he's coming back, but it's at some point. But Galladay alone will, with Shepard, and if Evan Ingram is catching balls that day, then he's a problem, right? So. So that should be a better offense and help. I'm not the biggest Daniel Jones fan, but you're right. Against this team, he's been
he's looked elite.
Absolutely. So Dre, I mean, not Dre. AJ, I know you had a question about Jonathan Allen, so I'm gonna ask this one question right quick, and we could get to yours with Jonathan Allen, right? So, is this a big year for Scott Turner in your opinion, Jon? Because the reason why I asked this question, he's only in year 2, right? But at the same time, it seems like he's getting all of the players that he's asking for, and the type of players that fit his scheme and his style that he wants to run. So in that sense, I can't call it for the quarterback position. I don't know his thoughts of where he's at in terms of who he wants or what he wanted. But is this a big year for Scott Turner?
I think so. I think so. I know, he was a new coordinator, and last year there were so many quarterback issues that it's hard to tell what a coordinator can do sometimes if you're getting inconsistent quarterback play at best. And that was at best. When you look at all the quarterbacks and their cumulative, like for us, we use that total QBR stat on ESPN. All of them were actually, I shouldn't say all of them. It was Haskins and Alex Smith. Their total QBRs were pretty low. Alex knows, I think, because of that veteran stuff, knew how to win games. But my point is the quarterback play it wasn't like they were getting great play there. So that's always an issue. And then you had Antonio Gibson, learning a new position and et cetera, et cetera. So there were games where you saw some things, but they went out and got a Curtis Samuel. They drafted a tight end, so he should help. Even as a number 2, Logan Thomas. Gibson should be better. I mean, I really like him.
Yes.
And Adam Humphries, I think Adam Humphries will help. De'Ami Brown will help. So there is more there to work with. So yes, I think it's not that they have to have the NFL's best offense, but you need to see some level of consistency. And you need to see, how are they going to tap into this creativity? How are they going to use Curtis Samuel? That's when they signed him. All what I heard initially was, hey, they learned a few things watching how the staff last year in Carolina used him a lot more in the slot. Well, when Scott Turner talks about him, he talks about him being downfield threat outside. That's how they used him the year before. So how does that evolve, and is it the right way, or we'll see. But I do think it's a big year for him. I think you've got to show that you can be a good coordinator with whatever the quarterback play they get. I remember when Kyle Shanahan was here, and the year that actually convinced me he was pretty good was 2011. And if you remember, that was the Rex Grossman and John Beck year.
Oh my God!
Yeah, but the receivers are like Jabbar Gaffney now. Santana was still here, but Santana wasn't prime Santana. So, but those guys were getting open because the offense was pretty good. They were middle of the pack with the stats and all that. But I'm like, guys getting guys open, and look at these guys. Half of them were out of the league the next year. So, but you could see what the offense was creating. If you got better quarterback play, if you brought in better talent, you could see what it could do. That's what I think we need to see this year. You definitely need to see a big step, because if you don't, then there's a problem.
And I don't think I've seen Scott Turner really schematically get guys open. I just have not seen that yet. No matter who's been at quarterback, like you said with Kyle Shanahan, that's what makes him great. Sean McVay and so on. No matter who's out there lining up at the XZ, whatever, they know how to scheme it up to get them open, irregardless of the coverage, what have you. And even, with the draft selection of Antonio Gibson, I didn't really even see him in the passing game as much as I believe. I'm hoping that we'll see that more this year, but nothing last year showed me that I should be optimistic of such. I've seen J.D. McKissick involved in that a lot, but the bigger mismatch is a 6'3" running back, 220, 230, lining up. Just lining up.
What about Logan Thomas? Logan Thomas had a good year, right?
Yeah, I think he had a good year. I mean, if you think where he's coming from being a former quarterback and bouncing around as a tight end, trying to learn the position. But in tight end positions in the league, they're typically open. It's not that hard to get them open, I just don't know about Scott Turner. I'm not so, because I know just as a fan in the earlier stages of the season, I was so frustrated. I was just like, this doesn't make sense to me. A lot of the play calls, they weren't balanced. They weren't even necessarily helping the quarterbacks get the ball out their hands quicker. It wasn't taking advantage of mismatches. It was just kind of alarming to me.
And there's some of that. I think the whole thing with Gibson, he had a lot to learn at running back. And I think he's somebody that really needed that offseason last year on the field, in OTAs, in training camp, in preseason games to learn a new position. And I think they want to get him comfortable there. So I think that's why I say I think it's a big year to see how they use him. I do think when we watch him this spring, he looks like a guy who's a lot more comfortable out there. And I could see his role evolving in the pass game, because like you kind of expect that. I love J.D. McKissick. And so I think I like the way Cam Sims improved. I think some of those guys, and this is where we go back to the quarterback play, guys like Cam Sims and some, some of the younger receivers did a better job when Alex Smith was in there, because he could help them with the plays, the routes, etc. And that's where a young quarterback like Dwayne, who needed to do a better job in a lot of ways, but he wasn't equipped. Even if he was doing a great job in this area, I don't know that you're as equipped to handle, to remind Isaiah Wright, hey, on this one, you got to do this, because you got a lot in your own head you're going on. Alex Smith doesn't have that. Will Fitzpatrick? I don't think Heinicke. I think he was good with that too. So I think that's where they'll benefit. But I know. Listen, you have to see it, and I think consistency is what you want to see. And I think we've talked a lot about the flexibility and the versatility of this offense. All right, well, how is that incorporated? And the other thing too, when I would talk to players, but executives and people from other teams, they weren't exactly wowed by the offensive talent here last year. It certainly wasn't top half. But one thing they did say is that they need to find that bread and butter play, especially the run play. I don't know that we really saw that last year. So that's something I'm kind of looking to see this year. Is there a run play that you consistently go to on 3rd and 2? You need 3 yards, go to this play. That's not just about play calls, it's about talent, but I think it's all both. And so I think that's something I'm also curious to see too, how that develops.
All right. So we have the Jonathan Allen question from AJ, and we could close it out with a viewer question, man. So John, we always appreciate your time, man, and thank you for staying with us, obviously. And quick follows. Thank you, Jeff Goat, Montel, I see you, bruh, and MC Redskins, man. Appreciate y'all for following. AJ, what you got to ask about Jonathan Allen, my brother? I know you had something to top of your head in this one.
Yeah, I mean, there's some talks that Jonathan Allen is looking for 18 to 20 million in regards to extension yearly. So with that being said, just knowing the landscape in the marketplace, you typically wouldn't pay that for a run stopper or D tackle. So do you think that his name might get floated around before training camp in regards to still possibly trying to make a move for quarterback, or even during the season due to the fact that they have Ioannidis still under contract, they still got to pay Payne, and Tim Settle is a pending free agent for next year? Do you think that they are actively really pursuing an extension with Jonathan Allen, or is he maybe a movable piece?
That's a good question. And, I haven't heard them include his name in talks. Doesn't mean it's not, because I think that's a guy that if he was, they're going to keep it really quiet, right? Because you don't want that. I think that would be like if it get to the point, like you said, trade deadline, and you clearly aren't going anywhere with an extension. Then I think then you'd almost have to look at that, because one thing with I know they want to sign him. I know they'd like to sign him, and they've had some level of talks. I don't know if it's in the last week, if it's increased or not. I don't know. I know a week ago I was told they're having some talks, sort of, but that's at least, it was a start of something. He obviously wants to stay here. Whether or not he wants 18 to 20 now, I mean, I had Joe Corey, if you guys know, the salary cap expert from CBS Sports, and he has a podcast too, Inside the Cap. But I had him on mine, and he thought it would take about $17 million to get him, because he's not going to get Leonard Williams money, because he hasn't been Leonard Williams, but he has been a good defensive lineman. And there were games last year, that San Francisco game last year, I thought he was really, really good. There were some games I thought he was really good. I think the one thing that they would keep in mind is that Ioannidis plays that same role. Tim Settle plays that same role. Payne is a little bit unique because he can play over the nose a lot more, and they don't really have that other guy to play that same way. So I'm not at the point where I'd say, I don't think they can get it done. I haven't heard that, I haven't heard that at all. But I think if you got to a point, we know that they can't keep all these guys together. So if you can't get something done in that ballpark, who's going to go? Montez is going to be up in a couple of years, and obviously you're going to have Chase in a few years. Chase Young is going to make 25. He's going to make what we consider now really good quarterback money, right? In a few years. Yeah, and then you're going to have, again, Payne, and Settle would not cost as much to keep, and he's seems to consistently get better. So would it shock me if that happened? No, because we've seen a lot. If you don't get something done before camp and you're not getting it done, well, would you franchise him? I don't know. So I think that
Yeah.
17 if they can get to 17, my guess would be that you get it done. I don't know. So, but
I
that's
was
a good point.
I would be scared to sign a run stopper D tackle at 17 million, especially when I have other guys in rotation. It's like I could use that money elsewhere and improve my team.
But to be fair, AJ, I think he's a little more than a run stop. I do think he has some pass rushing ability.
I agree. I do think he does. Like I said, that San Francisco game, he was really good. Some of what he hasn't done enough as much as is finish on some of those rushes, but I do think he gets some good penetration. Ioannidis is a better pass rusher. I think he's obviously their best interior pass rusher. Tim Settle has some quicks that really help there, but Allen had some games I thought he was really good last year and a little bit more than just the run stopper. But I think, to your point though, you can see getting to a point where you say that's too rich for us if you're Washington, right? And at what point is that? Is it 17? Is it 16? I think one thing that they've kind of done is they seem to have that budget and then you're going to stick to it. So we'll see. But you're right. I mean, I think there's going to be a hard decision to make on that defensive front. And he wants to stay here because he's from here. It means something to him to play here. So, but like players know where that salary cap is going, right?
Yeah, I'm about to say if they get the right type of money, they don't care about staying at home. Like if everything if everything makes sense to them and the money good, Washington they on out.
Right. I mean, there might be like, you may take a little bit less to stay here and all that, but somebody's going to give you like Washington's only going to give 15 or 16. We'll give you 18 or 19. Well, it's like, well, I can buy a lot of plane tickets with that one to go home,
Yeah, definitely.
So
I'm out of here.
I'm not at that point, but I do think to AJ's point, we're going to look at this line and say, well, which one will be gone? Because I think they know you can't keep them all. So who is it going to be? Or do you sign a guy and then maybe you construct the contract so that way in a couple of years when Montez Sweat is up, if whomever, whether paying or whatever, if they're not doing it, maybe you cut them and then you take the money over here. Maybe that's how you do it. But I do think that's also why Morgan Moses isn't here, because it gives them a little bit more money to apply toward some of these extensions. And so AJ, I think that's going to be one of the more interesting things to watch over the next couple of years is which guy can they keep them all? And if not, who's the odd man out? That's a hell of a group.
That's why I'm surprised they didn't go even harder at quarterback because, I mean, of course I heard about the Matthew Stafford talks, but you would think with all these guys on rookie deals and you're not really paying anybody an astronomical amount on the defensive side of the ball that you would load up at quarterback and try to get you a championship within the next 2 years before you have to start giving out these big extensions because, one, most of these guys that you do have are first-round picks, so the number is even higher than, say, a third, fourth-round pick. So that's where the Ryan Fitzpatrick move kind of stunned me a little bit because I'm like, okay, what you seen Rams trade for Matthew Stafford, Washington, if you really want a Stafford, you probably should have done it. And instead, now we may have to play QB carousel once again this year. And I know you hate that, John, because typically when that happens, it makes your life a living hell.
There is nothing worse than quarterback quitter. But
I say I got bad news for the training camp coming up.
But I do think that's a legitimate point because there is that window, and one of the reasons I thought they would get a quarterback in the draft. First of all, I knew they were looking hard at him. Yeah. Clearly not to the point where they're willing to give anything up because of that rookie contract. But I also know in their mind, well, if you don't get that guy, I do expect him to be a heck of a lot more aggressive next offseason, unless Heinicke takes some big step and shows he can be more than just what he's been, then you're going to be looking for the guy. And I think one of the things I heard this offseason was, well, you look at like the Rams and the 49ers going up for Trey Lance. And then a few years ago, the Chiefs going to get Mahomes, and the position they were in where they felt like they had the roster around the quarterback, now go get that guy. So I think that's why they wanted to continue building out that roster. So when you look at this roster, it's better. They need that quarterback, but it's better around them.
Definitely.
So are they more equipped now to go out and be more aggressive next year and give up some capital that they weren't willing to part with this year to go get a guy, whether it's, who knows? I mean, maybe Deshaun is back on the table. I don't know. Maybe it's one of the guys in the draft and you feel like you can plug a rookie quarterback into this offense because you've got, Samuel McLaurin and Gibson was this and this guy's that, maybe, and the line is this. And so that's where you could see them. But but it's, to your point though, it's that get a guy in a rookie contract if you can, because that's where you can afford to keep more of these guys around them. And, the other thing too is like next year, like Brandon Sheriff will be off the books. I'd be a little bit surprised if he came back because his price tag is, yeah. And so that's why they've got a lot of depth at guard. So, but yeah, I don't know, but yeah. So that's going to be a big thing to watch over the next year, because if they go 10-7 and Fitzpatrick does pretty well and Heinicke helped them out and did this, you're still going to you're going to need to go get that guy. So even if they go win 10 games and none of those guys jump out for next year, then you got to go get the guy and be aggressive because, and I do think that they were, I mean, again, I heard that a few times, like, well, these teams were in position because they have those rosters that can get you right now. And they didn't feel they had that. But if you got a Stafford, just think of how we look at this offense if they had Matthew Stafford. It'd be a lot different.
Probably be talking about Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if they had gotten him and you're still able to add Curtis Samuel, and now maybe they would have had to have given up more than the first and the third. But what if they had included a Jonathan Allen there? Maybe, Detroit seemed to want Goff for whatever reason. They wanted Goff, and these guys couldn't offer him anything like that. Maybe that was the difference. But it's, he would have been a guy that you could have had for 6-7 years, possibly.
All right.
Possibly, but who knows with him?
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get to a viewer question, and then we could let everybody know what you got going on, John. So this comes from Kevin. He asked, how much confidence do you have? And obviously we know that you like Antonio Gibson, and I do too. The fellas do, but he just asked from a general standpoint, how much confidence do you have in the running back position? Because obviously you mentioned Gibson's turf code can possibly be a chronic issue, especially adding touches with this game this year, additional games. It seems like each running back have a different role. He's asking, did Lamar Miller look capable in the spring, or do you see them surveying the cut list later in the preseason?
Well, the one thing I learned a long time ago is you can't really gauge running backs in the spring, especially a veteran like Lamar Miller, who we really haven't seen carry a full load in the game in a few years. We all know what he did before. And I mean, there was a few years ago, for those of you who remember when Larry Johnson was here, you guys remember that? And in the spring and in practices,
oh yeah, I do.
People were talking about, Larry Johnson looks really good. Oh, he looks great. He's always doing this. And he stunk when he got in the games. He was done, right? But in practices, he looked spry. He looked good. Nah. So like you always got to get like you can be fooled so much by the spring. The reason why I noticed Antonio Gibson was because he looked comfortable on the plays they were running as far as what, where he needed to cut, how he needed to string something out. We know how he can run, and he's got those young legs still. So that was noticeable to me. The other stuff for guys like Miller and all that, you need to see him in pads in a game. And, is he breaking tackles? Is he making guys miss in the hole? That kind of stuff, we don't know. I do think that they're going to continue looking at waiver wires, because that was a position going into the draft that I know they wanted to fill. Now they got Jarrett Patterson as undrafted free agent, but he right now really projects more as a third down back, which seems to be what they're trying to work him into or develop him into. And that's probably more down the road. So if Peyton Barber lost weight, who knows if that'll help. But they do like him, but I do think that if they were looking for Lamar Miller and they brought him back, I think it's safe to say they probably still look at guys in the summertime, depending on who becomes available, because I think the turf toe, while Gibson looked pretty good, he didn't seem like from the naked eye, it was hard to always tell. He did say that, there's some times where, I don't know, it bothered him is still a thing, but maybe not quite 100%. And it's a tough injury for running back. So, my confidence level is pretty good, assuming he stays healthy. And I like McKissick a lot. But then after that, I think then you have to say, well, there are some questions. So with the first two, feel good. Barber was pretty good in short yardage. And if he's lost weight, so if he's quicker, I don't know. We'll see. But I do think it's a spot where you can continue looking at the waiver wire to see what becomes available.
I think Barber just doesn't have any vision.
Well, he just ran. He ran straight ahead. There were
him into the back. Yeah, like
there were a lot of times with that, man.
Every play,
yes.
I'm like, come on, man.
I wrote something like a while back, or maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, "There's no way in hell that you can bring back a guy. I don't care what his specific role was, but if you're talking about a guy averaging 2.7 yards per carry on the season, that's not a good thing to put on your resume in any aspect. I don't care what your role was. 2.7 yards a carry.
They would only run them on like 3rd and 2 though.
Dre, you know how it don't matter. You put Adrian Peterson in that same situation, he's getting you 5. I don't care, but it just don't work like that.
But and there were definitely times where you saw him running in the backs of guys and all that. So, Wilson, that's why I say I have confidence in Gibson. Really like McKissick too. And then after that, I think you have to still see and still scan that waiver wire just to see. But I am curious to see what Lamar Miller has left, if he does have anything left. And because we haven't seen him here. And so I don't know, that's still he's a question mark because of that as well. So,
yeah.
Yes, sir. Jon, man, again, I told you before, it's truly appreciated for you spending the time with us tonight on the ToD Podcast. Keep doing you, my brother, and obviously we know you got some things going on. You do a podcast on your side. You kind of write. I think you write for ESPN. Let the people know where they can hear you, and let the people know where they can find your written work.
There you go. Well, thanks, man. I enjoy coming on. I appreciate the chance to come on with you guys. So I enjoyed it a lot. Obviously ESPN.com, and then my podcast, the Jon Keim Report, real creative name, but it's the Jon Keim Report. And last week I had Ron Rivera on. That aired a couple of days ago, and I'm going to have something with Jarrett Patterson, the undrafted free agent. I'll have him coming up soon. Doc Walker will be up this week. Rick Snyder's on there now. So, a lot going on with that. That you can find that in Apple, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts, that's where you can get that.
And don't sell yourself short, Jon. You talk about grilling a lot on your podcast. I can't remember the guy that you bring on, but I'm not lying to you. I listen to that part because I need to know about the tips for smoking. You guys know, like, I've converted. I don't grill anymore. I smoke. That's it. That's all I do. So I'm listening to everything that they got going on, taking notes. Trust me, you keep doing that with tailgate Ted.
Tailgate Ted.
Oh yeah, tailgate Ted. So keep doing that.
And I also would have Chef Mel on too. And
yep. I remember.
It's been a minute since I've had Mel on, but when we get back out to the facility in NYC, I'm going to get him on some more too. Smoke. When you start smoking, it's a game changer. It's a game changer.
It is.
It is a process, and it's a process that ends better than the 76ers, but it is a process.
Hey man, let's go Suns, man. I need to see Suns in championship, dog. Let's go, man.
I would like that. I need the
Suns and who is it? Oh no, because I was rooting for the Nets and they got put out. Damn. I don't know. I don't care who's about the East.
I had a hard time with that series because KD was great.
Yes.
I'm not the biggest James Harden fan at all, but it bothered me sometimes the way Milwaukee played. I didn't always enjoy watching them because now when Giannis is going all that, but I don't want to see my guy shooting 10 3-pointers in a game when he's making 2. Yes.
Isn't it insane how much like the 3-point is a part of the game these days. It's like you'll literally watch possessions of 3-pointers back to back. And it's like when I used to play AAU basketball back in the day, I couldn't imagine attempting that many threes. Like if I knew I had that type of leverage back then, oh my God, I would have been Steph Curry because that was like my shot. But I also knew I needed to be efficient. But now these days, it's like you could pull up a 3 from half court and everybody's kind of okay with it, even if you miss it.
You better not shoot a mid-range jumper.
Oh my goodness, no, don't do that.
Yeah, listen, like it's amazing because like you see those shot charts, it's like 3-pointers and layups, and I kind of just that mid-range, I like a fast-paced, up-tempo game. That was always when I coached. Like I wanted my teams to play fast. I want to press. I want to play fast, and so I can't stand watching Wisconsin play because it's way too slow for me, and it's like. I'm not a fan. Like, I don't want to see you run 35 seconds off the shot clock and get this little shot. I want something that's fast and create some movement right away and attack. But that's why, like, sometimes even with Giannis, like, you can't stop you getting to the hole. And I know the foul shots and all that. And I know once in a while that's okay. But Giannis would always remind me in the against the Nets at times. I mean, the guy had some great moments and stretches in games. But there were some times where, like, when I used to coach, there'd be a kid for the other team. I'm like, God, I hope that guy makes his first 3 because he's going to take 5 more and miss them all. And so if we play these teams, the guy would make his first 3. I'm like, perfect, because he's going to take, the next 5 times on court, he's going to miss them. And but it's the same thing. Yeah, it's
so. Let me ask y'all.
I could never play like that, like where you have no conscience whatsoever. It's just.
Let me ask y'all about the guy.
I like watching Atlanta.
Yeah, I was about to say. Speaking of Atlanta, because I was about to say, let me talk about the guy who does have a conscience in the worst way. What do y'all think about Ben Simmons? Like that series was crazy. I've never seen a guy I seen your tweet, John. You was like, just dunk the damn ball. I've never seen a guy have a lane like that and say, oh, he's open. Let me just pass it to him.
He's 6'11",
he's getting
by
traded.
The hoop, and he sees Trae Young coming weak side, or unless he thought the guy behind him was going to block it, even still, throw it down. But to not even, like, he went multiple games without even taking a shot in the fourth quarter. Like, I don't know.
Hold on, wait. I have it in my phone. Hold on. Because I saved it. I think he had, oh my goodness, this was crazy. I hope I found it. He had, like, out of those 7, it was probably about 4 or 5 where he did no attempts in the fourth quarter.
Correct.
None.
How is that possible? And the sad thing is,
he gets paid way too much money to not be efficient. Like it's like even if you're scared to shoot, at least try. Like
I found it.
Rajon Rondo used to be like that. He was scared to shoot, and at some point he was just like, "F it." If I make it, I don't. If I miss it, whatever. Like it is what it is. But that's why I always tweet like, "What the hell does Ben Simmons work on in the offseason? Is he just running? Is he just running sprints? Like what's going on? Like, are you just working on passing drills because?" You can't be that athletic and you can't even think to attempt a jump shot. Like, you're not even taking jump shots. Like, you're not even trying.
Right. And that's like, I'm picking on Giannis. Giannis takes the shots. Like, I enjoy watching him, but I just wish he would either be more efficient or drive a little bit more instead of those shots. But he takes the shots. And if he misses one, he's going to take the next one because he's Giannis. He knows that this is what he's supposed to do. And somebody brought up that Simmons was a little bit more like a Draymond Green. Like, I'll take Draymond Green. And as a Cavs fan, Draymond drove me nuts. But I love the role he plays, and he knows his role, and he's also not afraid to shoot, and he's not afraid to participate. Like, when you have a guy who won't even look at the rim on offense. Like, these are the things that I would work on when I was coaching 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, whatever. You got to be a threat when you got the ball, son. Look at the rim. square up wherever you're at. And, if you're not doing that, it's just, and you're getting like, if his defense is great, his ball handling, vision, all that stuff. But if you're getting the kind of money he's getting, you've got to be everything. And that, it's got, and you can't be afraid to shoot. It's just, I don't know. I wonder where that guy's career is going to go. I mean, he's going to be always at a certain level, but he's got a lot of work to do. I'm with you, AJ. I don't know. Like, what are you doing in the summer? When Magic Johnson came in the league, he was not a great shooter. But he worked himself into that. And his shot was never pretty, but he worked it into a good shot because he worked at it. LeBron worked at his shot. God bless. It is. Yeah. I would imagine if you're a Sixers fan, it must be frustrating as hell.
They're blaming the coaches more than they are blaming the Sims.
Even a
I've never seen a fan not want to shoot.
It's amazing.
I don't think I've seen Ben Simmons take a jumper 5 times in his whole NBA career. I don't even know what his jumper looks like.
AJ, I'm not lying to you just because you're talking about it, but I completely agree. I don't think I ever seen it. I really don't.
Yeah.
I saw a video of him making a 3 one time. I did see a video.
The whole crowd. I've seen it maybe like LA Fitness with a trainer. That was it. But outside of that, I have not seen him take a jumper in real life. Like it's saying that you're the dominant ball handler. So yeah, it's frustrating.
Someone's got it. If I was creative with the video, I'd you try and Photoshop his face onto someone else's body, and he can do that and pretend like he's working out.
Make it seem like he's shooting threes. So before we get out of here, they wanted me to break the news to you, John. MC Scans is a fellow Cavs fan, and he was talking about the lottery. So, but before y'all actually got the official pick, he was hoping y'all was about to get the number 1 pick, but it turns out y'all have the number 3 pick in the upcoming draft. So I don't know how good that is or not. I don't even know the players in college, but that's where y'all are looking, man. So
it's better than what. But all I know is that everybody wanted Cade Cunningham. So they're not getting him, but but that's better. My fear for them was they're going to get the 9th pick, and it's going to be it'll be the 9th pick in a draft with 8 guys or something, or the 6th pick in a draft with 5 good players. But if you can't get a good player at number 3, then hang it up. But I like the guy that I like for them is Darius Garland. And I like Colin Sexton. I like his mindset and all that. But Darius Garland, I thought developed. But my God, they need what they need is LeBron to come back again, or they need to have another generational talent. They need another generational talent to be born in Northeast Ohio, so in 20 years they can be really good again.
And that's all good. Hey, look, MC Scans, go ahead, start a GoFundMe. Mention LeBron James, you know what I'm saying? Crowdfund his trip back to Cleveland. All right, there you go. Y'all should be good.
Well, listen, Bronny will be ready soon. Bronny will be ready soon, and maybe LeBron will want to come back there and play. And so
that is true. If he's around, he didn't finish this one too strong, but you know what I'm saying, if he's around. But hey John, I appreciate your time, boss. As always, man, it's always a pleasure talking to you. We will keep in touch, man. And we'll go from there, bro. But you enjoy your vacation and all that good stuff, boss, man. It's good talking to you.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys.
Appreciate you, John. I'll probably see you at training camp.
Cool. All right, hit me up when you're down there, Jamal. You going to be down at camp?
Man, I hope so. If they let us,
I'm gonna bring him down there with me. With me.
Cool. All right, good. Do it. I'll see you down there.
Yes, sir. Talk to you, boss.
Wherever Dre is, I don't know where Dre is
at. Dre's always in the cut. You know what I'm saying? But I'm sure he'll be around.
I'll be there. I'll come when they're not in Richmond. Whenever they're not in Richmond.
All right. Cool. All right, guys. Take care.
All right, John, man. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right. So listen, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the Keim interview, man. It was a good discussion, well-rounded discussion, man. But for those who are still in here, this is important. If you guys didn't hear the Anthony Armstrong interview, that's still up there. You can go check it out on YouTube. I think it's still on the Twitch, and it's also in the podcast thing. But Anthony has something going on with Camp Gladiator, right? And he's looking out for me and the people that's watching us and the people that's listening to us, right? Camp Gladiator, what is that? It is a challenging workout program led by certified professional trainers. So there's a week in which he's giving sessions completely free. This is in person, but also virtual. And he's giving out 5 weeks free. And obviously, depending on where you live, he's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So if you're in that area, it works out for you, right? But if you're not, this is where the virtual part comes in. So with that being said, I am going to try and rework. I'm going to do something. That being said, get to it. But yeah, I appreciate everybody who tuned in. AJ and Dre, did y'all have any closing thoughts, man? Because you know what time it is, man. It's 9 o'clock. You know who playing. You know on the ESPN screen, man.
About to do, about to watch some basketball, man.
Yes, sir. AJ, you good?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It was a great conversation. Glad to have Jon on board. Solid guy. All the fans out there, hopefully you're following him. Definitely try to engage with him. He's a great guy. Been knowing him for a long time. And yeah, man, just glad to be back with the boys since we missed last week. And looking forward to bringing more people on the show and having an engaging conversation as we lead into training camp.
Absolutely. So next week we will have some more guests, man, and this is the start of the actual Washington football community. So we'll be having some fellow fans among us joining the show, and I guess we'll reveal that part when the week comes. But we do have some more people coming on, and that'll be previewing training camp. So appreciate everybody for tuned in. Appreciate all the follows. Cole, I see you. Thank you for the follow. I will be back tomorrow. The fellas will be back next Tuesday for the next Washington football shot, man. Appreciate y'all for watching. Peace.
Yes, sir.